Just a couple background things. Today, as we click through, there we go. Everyone is muted due to the size of our webinar. We're expecting about 250 people today. Today's webinar will be recorded, and tomorrow we will send out a link to the recording via TNN. When you receive that link, you will be able to share that with others if this is something that you would like to talk about in your PLTs. Or if you want to rewatch for later. The presenters today are going to give us all kinds of good information, and it's nice to have a copy to refer back to just in case. One last bit of housekeeping before we turn it over to Maxie. We are not offering CEUs for participation in the webinar today or for watching the recording after the fact. Maxie?
Thank you, Beth, and thank you all for joining us today. The North Carolina Department of Public Instruction partners with Metametrics to provide both Lexile and Quantiles for our EOGs and EOCs. Through this partnership, teachers across the state have free access to a wonderful resource called the Lexile and Quantile Hub. The Hub is really a one-stop shop where teachers can find lots of resources really to support learning both in and out of the classroom. Did I mention this resource is free? So I'm going to turn it over to Jane Scott, who's going to show you how to access the Hub and what resources are included. And she's going to go through the presentation, or as she goes through the presentation, her team will add links to the chat button for you to click on. So if you have any questions, please send those questions to everyone in the Q&A section. So there's two sections down at the bottom of your screen. One is a chat button, and that's where some resources and links are going to pop up for Metametrics. But if you have a question, please put that into the Q&A and put everyone on there, and we'll be able to answer your questions. So Jane, thank you for joining us today, and I will turn it over to you. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Maxie and Beth, and everyone joining us. There we go. I think we've got it now. A little new with this particular platform, so I do apologize. And again, thanks to Beth and Maxie for having us with you today. Greetings and welcome to our webinar where we will explore the Lexile and Quantile Hub. We are so thrilled that you have chosen to spend some of your very valuable time with us today. And as you know, this webinar is being brought to you by your very own North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, as well as Metametrics, the creators of the Lexile and Quantile frameworks. My name is Jane Scott, and I am a professional learning program manager here at Metametrics. Additionally, Matt Copeland, our Director of Educator Engagement and Implementation, is also with us today, and he will be there with you to answer any questions and share the various links that we mentioned along the way. It is our pleasure to be able to share this information with you, and please, at any time, if you have questions about the Lexile framework for reading or the Quantile framework for mathematics, after our session today, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And if it would be beneficial to have a session like this for your own school district here in North Carolina, please reach out. We would love to get you on our calendar, and that would be also included as a part of these resources that the Department of Public Instruction are providing for you at no cost. Our session today, we're going to just begin with a quick review of our two frameworks and the two kinds of Lexile measures, as well as the two kinds of Quantile measures that are available. And then we're going to get straight to the Hub itself, our one-stop shop for all of the various Lexile and Quantile tools. We'll examine the whole host of support resources available for you. That includes where you can find our quick start guides and video tutorials to help you as you explore and deepen your understanding of the resources that are being made available to you. And finally, we are going to take a look at those individual tools that you can utilize in your own classroom. So let's dig in with a very quick refresher on Lexile and Quantile measures. First, the Lexile framework for reading, which, as you may know, involves two kinds of measures, a measure of text complexity and also a measure of reader ability. The research here at Metametrics has actually placed both of these measures on the very same scale. The higher the Lexile number, the more sophisticated a reader's skill is going to be, and likewise, the higher the Lexile number, the more complexity that a text contains. The Lexile framework for reading allows us to match students and text in order to maximize their learning opportunities. Now, we all know that if texts are too complex, students, they're going to grow frustrated and they may just quit reading. And if texts are too simple, students can sometimes grow bored and may also quit reading. We want to ensure that we land somewhere in the middle, much like that Goldilocks fairy tale. We know that student learning is optimized when that match between readers and text is just right. Now, in this example, we can have confidence that a 760L reader who sits down to read a 760L text will see enough familiar vocabulary and simple sentence structure to make reading comfortable. But also, they're going to be able to see new vocabulary and more complex sentence structure that will enable them to continue growing, and in this instance, this young man. The Lexile student measure is an independent measure to see text that can be read independently at 75% comprehension. And this is important to keep in mind for growing our students' independent reading abilities. As we learn with the Lexile framework, there's a student Lexile measure as well as a Lexile measure of text complexity. Well, on the quantile side, there are also two types of quantile measures. We're going to take a look first at that quantile student measure, which really quantifies both a student's conceptual understanding of mathematics as well as their math ability. These student quantile measures always come from a student's performance on an assessment that has been linked to the quantile framework for mathematics. These quantile student measures suggest what mathematics a student is ready to learn next. And this is a very important distinction we'd like to make for you in our review of the Lexile and Quantile frameworks, and that distinction between that Lexile framework and that Quantile framework. On the reading side, remember we just shared that a student's Lexile measure suggests what he or she is ready to do independently, and that is without the help of a teacher or other adult. Whereas on the mathematics side, a student quantile measure actually suggests a student's readiness for instruction. In other words, simply put, the quantile framework assumes that a highly effective mathematics teacher will be working right alongside the students, providing instruction on those ready-to-be-learned concepts and skills that are going to take place during those introductory lessons. But at the very heart of the quantile framework, however, are what we call our quantile skills and concepts, or short, the QSCs. And these QSCs really are the backbone of the quantile framework for mathematics. And they allow us to not only determine the quantile measure of math materials as well as the North Carolina math standards, but also help us to better understand what math content a student has likely internalized, maybe what content the student's right ready to learn next, and what content a student will not be ready to learn until a future date. The quantile framework for mathematics has defined over 600 mathematics skills and or concepts. And again, our short term for that, we call them our QSCs. Each of these concepts has a quantile measure, and each measure shows an educator how difficult one skill is in relation to other skills in his or her curriculum. These QSCs, along with your North Carolina Standards for Mathematics for grades K-12, can be found in the Math Skills database, which is located in the hub, and we are headed there in just a few moments. But of course, the power of the quantile framework resides in the pairing of these quantile student measures with the quantile material measures. If we were to imagine that a student has a quantile measure that is equal to the quantile measure of a lesson he or she's about to learn, let's say, like in this example, a student with an 840 quantile student measure paired with a lesson that was also found to be at an 840 Q, we'd say this relationship is a perfect match. However, again, it's important to understand what that match means. That on the quantile side, it suggests the student has the foundational knowledge and conceptual understanding to be ready for instruction in that content, because the pairing between student measures and QSCs targets classroom instruction. And again, within the quantile framework, that perfect match means that that highly effective classroom math teacher is present to guide the learning. And remember, that perfect match within the Lexile framework targets independent reading. And we do stress this several times because it is critical that we keep this fact in the back of our minds as we use these two measures and apply them to our work. So you may be wondering, where can you find these Lexile and Quantile measures? Well, for many of you, there are likely multiple ways you are accessing Lexile and Quantile measures for students. First of all, your state summative assessments have been linked with both the frameworks, and these end-of-the-year tests report Lexile and Quantile measures in addition to your state scale scores. But additionally, there are many local schools and districts that could be using an interim benchmark assessment or instructional program that also reports these measures. So in this way, you may be receiving multiple Lexile and Quantile measures even within the same school year, tracking student performance on the very same scale, but across many different assessments. This past spring, in the school year of 2021, you did indeed receive Lexile and Quantile measures on the year-end assessments. And in school year 21-22, you will once again have these measures to help monitor growth for your students. And here is a sample of the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. This happens to be a grade 3 individual score report that shows where to find the Lexile score when it is sent home to parents. The math individual score report looks very similar, except in that report, the quantile student measure of readiness would be shared with parents. So in our quick little review here, I am summarizing the 3 ways that the Lexile framework and the quantile framework can be utilized. And the first 3 of these ideas deals with targeting our instruction to our students' ability levels. Any group of students has a wide range of reading and mathematical abilities. And by targeting our instruction and targeting the materials directly to each student's unique ability level, we can optimize the learning that occurs. That second bullet on this list, you will see that we also have the ability to promote growth and monitor the progress of our students, because these frameworks have been linked with a variety of different assessments and a variety of different instructional programs. These scales help us walk across a child's entire K-12 learning experience. And that leads me directly into number 3 on the list, and that would be the ability to communicate student achievement more effectively to a variety of different stakeholders without having to change scales or systems with each new assessment. So let's get to the star of today's show, the Lexile and Quantile Hub. Now, On the screen, you will see the URL, hub.lexile.com. And we certainly invite those of you that are with us today to follow along. Log in to hub.lexile.com. I'm going to show folks how to create that free account that gets you all of the premium tools that are available there. But sometimes folks will say, you know, we just kind of rather watch you do the work, and we're happy to do that. And we'll follow along. And then once we leave our webinar today, you can explore on your own. Either way works fine for us. However, we want to caution you that the Hub is compatible with desktop and laptop computers and most tablets. And we really recommend using Google Chrome or Firefox as your browser, because due to some security and data privacy concerns, the Hub does not work with Internet Explorer. So just give me a second. I'm going to pull, hopefully, the Live Hub over, and Matt's back there. He'll let me know if you can see it. So Matt, is it showing up, or I need to stop sharing?
Jane, we see it. We're live in the Hub.
Some of my most favorite words in the world. Jane, we see it. It's there. Everybody else can see it. So there. Thank you, Matt. So we're live in the Hub, and you're going to notice within the Hub that I have open, in the upper left-hand corner, you have the North Carolina logo, postal code, so to speak. And this is the full-fledged We're in the Hub. I'd like to take a minute and go backwards. I'm going to back out of the Hub by coming over to the right, go to my account, and I'm going to select Log Out. That will put me right back out here where I can kind of step you through what you will need to do to create your own totally free, at no cost, account that will get you back to that North Carolina page. So here we are. When you go to hub.lexile.com, this is what you're going to see. And if you do not have an account with us, it's pretty simple. But of course, if you have any issues, always let us know. You would, instead of select sign in, because if you don't have your account, you can't sign in. So you register. I'm going to select register so that you can see just exactly what that page will look like. So on this page, we ask you to give us your email address. We certainly encourage you to use your school district, or if there's a whatever address is tied to your professional world there with the Department of Public Instruction in North Carolina. Then you create your own password, confirm that password, your country, your state, obviously that will be North Carolina. And over here, we're going to help you prevent falling into a pitfall that we know that sometimes we do it here as well at Metametrics. For this enrollment or for this account, please let us know you are indeed an educator. Sometimes folks will see parent, and we know as educators, if we're parents, we think of ourselves as parents first, but in this instance, select educator. And then once you have done these few steps, you will select create an account. At that point, Metametrics has an auto emailing something set up in the backdrop. They will email you to that email address you registered. You will open it. There will be a link in that email that they want you to use to log into the Hub for the very first time. That confirms that everything you shared with us is exactly right. And when you click on that link, you're going to arrive at this page. It's at this page where you will always be prompted to log in and using the email address that you set up, and then your password. And I have to tell you that I often may not type everything appropriately when I'm trying to talk and type at the very same time. I can multitask, but not on those two things. So I have my email address, I have my password, I will sign in. Now, I'm right back where we landed when we started our tour of the Lexile and Quantile Hub. So here you see the North Carolina logo. I will tell you, this blue navigation bar will always be here for you, no matter where you roam when you're in the hub. So you can't get lost. Don't even be concerned about that. And as you scroll down, you are more than welcome to explore our newly launched Lexile and Quantile Educator Academy. That link is right there. Your Lexile tools are here. They are at the top. They're always going to be green tool cards. Your Quantile tools, if I select this, they are here, kind of at the bottom. However, they're always going to be in blue. That's kind of our logo color for our Quantile tools. If you've been with Metametrics for a while, as North Carolina has, but some of you educators may remember over the years, we have always hosted what we call Summer Math Challenge to help those children that have just completed grades 1 through 8 maintain their skills with a free 6 weeks program. That link to Summer Math Challenge now lives in the hub because parents can register for a basic plus account that will be free to those parents so that they can sign their children up for Summer Math Challenge. So it's going to be in this navigation bar, as you can see where my little hand is. So, and then as I scroll down the nav bar, I can select See All Tools, and that'll bring some of the Lexile and Quantile back together. But at the very bottom, if you're wondering about those resources that parents will have access to, or if students want to use our, if students want to use the Find a Book tool or some of these other tools, this link will tell you exactly what they have access to. Remember, as a North Carolina educator, you have access to all of the tools that are in the hub, and that access is at the premium highest level. But going on down at the bottom, I sometimes think our support place could be a little bit higher in our nav bar, but here is where, if you want to share some information to parents, if you want to share information with colleagues and peers that you work with and you know they aren't able to join us today, if you select this support field right here, what you will see is you can get information on your hub account. If you're having an issue with passwords or you want to change some settings, you can find out how to do that here. Information about Lexile Tools. Any of our tools, we have quick start guides, we have video tutorials. Same thing with Quantile Tools. If you're wondering about what assessments we have that have been linked to the Lexile and Quantile framework, I'm certain Matt has already shared those links with you, but they're here. Then reading and math material measures, if you want some more information there, and even research that runs and fuels both of these metrics can be found right there. So that's our support page. And I'm going to close that and get right back to our Lexile and Quantile Hub. I'm going to go up here to the Lexile tool just by selecting Lexile tool. And you'll see up top we have our green Lexile boxes. And some people may think, you know, I'm not going to use, maybe I don't see myself using the Lexile's Measures Manager. And you see it's listed here, and it's got a gold star. And you see it's over here, Measures Manager. If you're thinking that in your nav bar, you do not want this Lexile Measures Manager here, you see the gold star? If you select it, it's going to turn that star gray, but more importantly, watch here, this will disappear. So you have a way to kind of organize, it's gone. Organize your tools in this left blue bar. But if you're thinking, I would never do that, and if one does disappear, you just simply select that star again, turn it back yellow, and that will return to you. So that's really all we want to share about navigating the actual hub itself. Let's get into some of the tools. And probably the tool that have been known for since the very beginning of time would be the Find a Book tool. So I'm going to select Find a Book. And then you'll notice when you just look at this search page, you'll notice that you can do a keyword search, and I'm going to do that in just a minute. You'll also notice that students could come in here and select their grade level. Tell us how they read text at that grade level. Do they read it really easy if they're a 5th grader, or do they read it just right in grade 5? Do they find it a little difficult in grade 5? Or if a student has just taken a benchmark assessment, they know their Lexile measure, they certainly could put it here. And then we encourage those children to tell us what they're interested in. What do you want to find books about? And they could pick several of these genre selections below. And as we scroll on down, even our Lexile codes are here, and you might think, well, I don't know, what do you mean high low? Well, if I hover over this question mark that's at the end of our codes, it'll tell you it's high interest and age appropriate content, but at a lower reading level. So that may be a category or a code you'd like to investigate. But I'll draw your attention all the way down at the bottom of these to Lexile and vocabulary by chapter. If I place a check in this particular box, and I need to, folks, thank you for letting me know I should increase my screen size because it was hard for me to see, but I kind of didn't want to admit that. So thank you very much. So now, as I hope that should be somewhat better, your quick search, they can go in by grade, by their Lexile measure, scroll down, search or select some genres, and then these question marks that are at the end of each of our Lexile codes that you may find attached to books as you are searching in our database, they will tell you just exactly what these really and truly mean. But where I had placed a check is down here at the Lexile and Vocabulary by Chapter guide. And it's got our little Lexile measure and consequential vocabulary from each chapter's text. So I placed a check mark here. I'm going to go up here and I am going to search for books, or a series of books that everyone is somewhat familiar with, and select search so that we are at least kind of everybody on the same page. And you'll notice I've returned books that have something to do with Harry Potter or part of the Harry Potter series of books. Now, you'll notice at the top of each book, there's a heart. You may not have noticed that over here, there is what we call my bookshelf. So if I illuminate this or hover over or select this gray heart, we turn it red. And I've placed that title on my bookshelf. And maybe I want to place this title on my bookshelf. These are books that I'm interested in using for, say, a unit of study. And I'll open the bookshelf there in a minute. But wanted you to notice these hearts and that they do align directly with the bookshelf up there on the right. But first, I'd like to go behind the scenes. Remember, I put that check in Lexile and Chapter Guides. If I select a book cover and I go behind the scenes, as I call it, I'm sure there's a very technical term for that, but you'll see the heart back here is red. But if I select it now and turn it gray, I have just removed it from that bookshelf back there, but I'll leave it red. Anyway, we give you a brief little synopsis of the book, but as you scroll down, if this is a book that you're using with a group of children, and we see that the text overall has an 880 Lexile measure, And when I scroll down, I now also see that Chapter 1 has an 890 Lexile measure of complexity. And if I'm using this book in a classroom and I realize that, oh my goodness, I've got some children that have, say, an 850 Lexile measure, 850, they'd still be okay with this particular book. But if I scroll down a bit, those children with an 850L, they may struggle when Chapter 2 goes to 930L. I need to really pay close attention to those students, depending on how this chapter is going to be read within the classroom or sent home as an assignment. Same thing with Chapter 8. So you can see, having the Lexile measures of each individual chapter right then and there, you're getting some information about how to set up the instruction within a classroom for a text that has been identified, the Lexile and vocabulary by chapter. But we take it a step further behind the scenes in Chapter 2. If this is going to be a tough chapter for some of the children that might be in this particular group of children, when I select Chapter 2, using the Lexile Analyzer, and again, that text complexity that we measure for a book is sentence length and word frequency, we have looked at the words in Chapter 2 that have a significant consequence within this chapter. And these may be words that, as an educator, when you are thinking about your instructional plan, I better pay attention here. And so we're kind of helping manage some of those things for you, chapter by chapter, but also the vocabulary that is found within. And we also offer the definition. So that is how these Lexile and vocabulary by chapter books work. And to get there, I'll point it back out to you again when I get out of this screen. It's just by placing that little check there in that box. And then you can begin to do some keyword searches for books that may be in your classroom, or titles if they're books that you get from your guided reading room and you're wondering, oh, I wish we had these chapter by chapter with a Lexile measure indicated. So you can check in our database and possibly find those to help as you determine your instructional plan. But going over, we also have an indicator tab, because remember, text complexity, sentence length, word frequency. So what impacts this particular book to be an 880L or the Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone? I select indicators, and basically the word frequency, we've got that in our Lexile and vocabulary guide. But the sentence length is not even going to be an issue with this particular text when you look at it. So you get some information that helps you plan for instruction. And now that I'm back here, I'd like to come up here and let's look at this bookshelf. Remember, I put a couple of books on here. I took one off, I put it back. So we've got those books that I've identified. Here they are. If I place a check mark here, and you can have as many books on your bookshelf that you would like, as soon as I place a check mark here, I have the option of doing one of two things. I can create book labels. You'll see this become active, or I can select, and this is how I clean that bookshelf out for the next time that I want to do a book search and find a book. So if I open this, you see, I can make a label, another check, or because I know that when I'm doing my next presentation, I want my bookshelf all cleaned out. So I'm going to select to remove these books. So thinking about that bookshelf and how it can be used for you as you're working with individual students, that is a really nice feature to have at your fingertips. And so as I kind of back out of here and go to this page, remember, there's the box that I can arrive at Lexile and vocabulary by chapter books that have had all of their chapters measured chapter by chapter. Now, we don't have all of our books in our database, but we are adding to it really on a monthly basis as we get that opportunity to make that available. Hopefully one day all of our chapter books will have that measure. Then I'm going to go back up here, and what I'd like to do is I am just going to do a very quick search of books that have a 300L, and I want it to be on animals, bugs, and pets, art, creativity, and you can see the range, 100 below, 50 above, and I'm going to choose to search. So I found 2,064 books. The bookshelf is up here, the heart all works the same way. But what I would like to do is now go behind the scenes of one of these lower level readers. And you notice we do the very same thing, but it's not chapter by chapter guide now. We're going to identify 10 words from this early reader book at a 280L, but it's the indicators that I wanted my folks to see. And that, when I select this, one of the things our newest research has done is to give educators in those K3 grades, if you will, the opportunity to get more information about those books and how we can help inform the various instructional plans for those. And we have now added indicators. We give you whether or not the book is difficult in the decoding. That's not where this book has the issue or what has really brought this book to be a 280L. It looks to me that primarily the vocabulary is just a little bit difficult. I imagine more than likely you think about the names of animals in this book, possibly talking about, I can look here even from the preview about gnawing and swimming and spinning and so forth and what they do. So the vocabulary is going to be the difficult piece, not so much sentences or the patterns in the book. So when this new research rolled out and we identified, to begin with, quite a number of indicators, we narrowed it down to 9, and we realized that that 9 could be represented by decoding vocabulary, sentences, and patterns that would be found in these early reader books. So no longer are we just saying a book is BR, we're going to give you some information about these. So wanted to share that with you. And when a text gets up to 650 Lexile and higher, that is when the indicators will go back to what we looked at with Harry Potter just now, sentence length, word frequency. Now, I'm going to go back over here to Lexile Tools, and that was our Find a Book tool. And as I go on, I would like to share some of the tools that I might mention on the Lexile side. They're going to have that same tool on the Quantile side, but that would have to do with, for example, we mentioned Lexile Measures Manager. We then have a Quantile Measures Manager, and both of these tools would work very similar. It would just, one focused on reading, the other focused on the math, obviously. So now, just to mix it up for those math folks that are sitting out there going, wait a minute, do something for me. I'm going to go down to the math area in the hub. And what I would like to begin with is the Math Skills Database. The Math Skills Database contains all of the research really for the Quantile Framework for Mathematics. And some of our other tools in the hub on the math side, whenever you drill down, you will find yourself right back in that Math Skills Database. One would be the Quantile Teacher Assistant. If we get a chance, we'll take a look at that. Another would be your Math at Home. Some of those resources are going to go right back into that Math Skills Database. And Find Your Lesson, where if you have math books that you use within your classroom and it is within our Find Your Lesson, you will see the quantile measures of those individual lessons within your math textbook. So I'm going to go right back up here, and in the Math Skills Database, I am going to scroll down and select North Carolina. I'm going to come over here, and all those many years I taught grade 5. I'll select grade 5. And if you're following along, select your own. But you notice it says all goals selected. Down here, we have those North Carolina grade 5 standards. But I'd like to share with you a great resource that if you just leave all goals selected and select search, what we end up doing is we actually have aligned all of the grade 5 math standards to the QSCs, to the Quantile Skills and Concepts database. Now, those math standards for grade 5, they're up here. There they are. They're always there if you don't remember the verbiage. But once you get here, it shows there are 43 QSCs down here that we have aligned to those grade 5 math standards in North Carolina. And each one of these headers are sortable. The two that I think, and maybe 3, that really can inform some of the things that you might want to know is by sorting by state goal. Here are the North Carolina standards. This is our QSC ID. This is our QSC description. But again, if you don't remember what NC5G1 is, go right up here. NC5G1, you can find it right up here. So your descriptions are here. But at this point, we start to focus on our quantile skills and concepts description. And you'll find something really unique. If I sort this column by state goal and look at my grade 5 math standards, scroll down a little bit, get up top, you will notice there's 1, 2, 3 NC5OA3s. What in the world, Jane? There's only 1? Come on, Jane, what's going on? Well, when our quantile experts at Metametrics or mathematicians, when they examined the North Carolina math standards, and in this instance, grade 5, they found 1, 2, 3 of our QSCs that address this individual standard. So basically, you can think of us giving you insight into unpacking this individual standard. What's unique, you look down here, in F4, there were 4 QSCs that addressed this particular standard. And then what we would like for you to think about as well, when you align all of your standards in whatever particular grade level you work with, look at QSC 138 has a difficulty of a 370 quantile. Here again, 5083, QSC 243, a 930. We kind of like to think about this, and educators have shared it's really nice to have the opportunity to see this math standard and its lowest level of instruction, but also on the very same page, we're now looking at the depth in which this math standard really needs to be addressed in this grade 5 classroom. So this is a really nice way to sort or to look at your individual math standards. So just out of curiosity, NC5083, I'm going to select this particular standard that was actually aligned to our quantile skill and concept. And when I select this, I arrive at what we call the knowledge cluster. Here is that standard from North Carolina in grade 5 that actually that difficulty level got up to a 930 quantile. And when I scroll down, I can see that that particular standard, yes, it reared its head in grade 5 and it's going to rear its head again in grade 6. But the unique part about all this is that if you have children in that grade 5 classroom and you're getting ready to teach this standard, you've got some children, because of a recent assessment, that don't seem to be ready to address math at this level. Remember that quantile measure is a readiness level. They're not quite ready. So what we would do is then come down to what we look at within the knowledge cluster prerequisite skills. If you've got children because of their recent quantile measure on a benchmark assessment not ready here, look at that quantile measure. Maybe they had a 700 quantile. So before you throw them in the deep end of the pool here, maybe come down here and first describe the relationship between corresponding items in 2 or more numerical patterns or tables. Now, those students that are ready for instruction at the 930 level, if you come and let your eyes follow here, we've got 7 resources that, like a cafeteria, you pick and choose. Just because it's on the page doesn't mean I've got to use every one of these for this group of children. But we identify resources that relate directly to this QSC. And in doing so, these resources actually are somewhere around a 930 quantile. Because if you're looking for resources to help teach this, they're going to be on this page. But remember, we said maybe you had a child that had a 700 quantile measure on that most recent assessment. If I look at this QSC 750, I'm going to open this by selecting it. And I'm going to see that, for those children, I have 5 resources that those children could benefit from. Again, the educator, knowing the students, knowing their math standards far better than we would select which resource, 1 or 2, to use with these students to do that mini lesson prior to throwing them into the deep end of the pool with that skill and concept that we looked at that related to that grade 5 math standard that measured that 930 quantile. Maybe there are students that work with a tutor in the school or a tutor after school, or someone works with, say, a math student that's not quite where they need to be in this 5th grade classroom. The educator has another unique resource up here. It's the Resource Center. And if I think whoever is working with those students in my room that maybe have a 700 quantile measure, and I investigate the illustrative math sidewalk patterns, I'm going to put that plus, make it a check mark, learn zillion, solving ratio. That will be great. So I've got 2 check marks here. I'm going to go up here and open my Resource Center. I need to remember my illustrative math. And I didn't clean this out last time, so I apologize. But here I've got, remember, I added illustrative math sidewalk patterns. But what is so neat about this is I can put a check here and whatever my other learn zillion. And I've got these 2 resources. And as soon as I put a check there, I can add them to a list, or I can make a brand new list. And we're going to say that this will be Matt's list for tutor. I don't know. Sorry, Matt. And then I can type a message to the tutor here. I've selected these 2 resources. And when I create this list, the program gives me a link. I can copy this link, email it to whoever will be working with Matt on these this particular area of math to get Matt ready for my lesson that I've got to do. So you do have resources added into the Math Skills database, the Quantile Teacher Assistant. You're going to have this resource center there. You will have the resource center for Find Your Lesson. So at any place where you are finding our QSCs, you will have access to the Quantile Resource Center. So I'm going to go back to Quantile Tools because I do want to make certain that I share with you just a few other tools, because to be very honest, the other tools that I'm going to look at, they're going to land us right back into those knowledge clusters. So we looked at the Math Skills database. We have the Quantile Teacher Assistant. Again, here, I would select North Carolina. Maybe I'll select grade 3 this time. But here, the Quantile Teacher Assistant, I need to select a standard. And then when I select search, if I have a benchmark assessment, and right now the most recent assessment, I found students, and you're going to notice these are going to start changing colors. And then maybe the highest student was maybe a 675. What I end up with, I now can see that these are below the quantile range of this particular classroom. These are within that quantile range. So you have that opportunity to get a picture of that overall class from a benchmark that was recently given. And you may think, well, now, wait a minute. What's going on here? Well, the prerequisites for this North Carolina standard are listed here. Here's that focus skill, the supporting, and then what's going to come next. So maybe it looks as if this focused USC is right within the quantile range for my class. When I select this, I want you to notice where we land. Right back to where we were with that knowledge cluster, and here are those resources. So you have that opportunity to go between some of these math tools that you may want to explore, and you're going to arrive right back where you can begin to make those instructional plans in order to meet the needs of all students. Very quickly, I want to go back to one other tool up here, the Lexile Analyzer. Any book that you've got that if you can type in the text, or maybe you can scan and save it as a Word doc or text doc, you can get a Lexile measure of complexity. So I have copied an article over here, and I'm going to paste the text. And this is Rumpelstiltskin. It's a twisted tail. And I'm wondering which students in my classroom could I use maybe to teach literary elements. So I have copied and pasted. I select Analyze. I see that this text falls somewhere between a 610 to an 800L. Longest sentence. Here are the indicators for this text. Everything's rearing its head at this level. And here are some of the vocabulary words that would be very critical for this text that I've copied and pasted here. What I would like to share is that this is not the tool to be used for a child's writing, because the Lexile Analyzer is meant for professionally authored text. Misspelled words, run-on sentences, you're going to inflate the Lexile result that comes out. And it's just, this analyzer is not meant for analyzing a child's text. Emails you send home, yes, by all means. That's how easy the analyzer is to use. So I'll go back over here to my navigation bar and take a look and see, maybe let Matt know if there's a tool that you would like for me to cover. I do want to take a quick little minute and share with you the career database. Now, your end of grade measures could actually be used within our growth planner to look at that child's growth trajectory. That may not be, they've only had maybe up to this point 3, or then we take our pandemic year into account. Maybe they only have 2 measures. You may not want to introduce that at the elementary level yet. But I think back of our career days and how fun it would be to use the Lexile Career Database. This is where we've done extensive research into careers and the reading complexity of various careers. So when you look, I'm in the career database here. Look right here in math. We have one that you can look at the math difficulty of various careers. So maybe someone's mom comes in and that mom is in construction management. In order to enter that career to get into construction management, that mom had to be able to have a Lexile measure, little one, of somewhere between 1350 up to 1520. That's a high Lexile measure. So this is kind of an interesting look at how Lexile measures, and you start to plant the seed that what they're doing now is truly, they're in elementary school, is truly going to impact them as they go forward to do whatever career it is they have their sights on. So we wanted to share that research with you. Then I see that someone was wondering about Find Your Lesson. Again, it's going to work just like some of these other resources. You could put in the title, the ISBN. I tell folks that because publishing companies change and how they name or how they title some of their series, I tell folks it's pretty helpful if you just open Find Your Lesson and select Search. You're now going to get all of our books up here, and you can sort by title, you can sort by publisher, but let's see if we can find. Here we have Developing Geometric Logic, Rows and Columns. If I open this textbook, we can see that in Chapter 1, each lesson has been given a quantile measure of difficulty. I can come over here and select Show All QSCs. And I can see that in Lesson 1, Exploring Prisms and Pyramids, has a difficulty level of 160 quantile. And it says 8 resources over here. When I select Lesson 1 to find those 8 resources to help me decide what types of instruction I would like to do within this lesson, look at where I end up, just where we've been all along, right here within the knowledge cluster for this QSC. So I'll stop now, see if Matt has any questions that we need to address, if there are some tools, because as you can see, these tools, and we've got the support field that you can go in and get some questions answered about these, but we have these tools, they're available to you. We would, we can stay online and work with some of you individually if that is something that you would like to do this afternoon. But know that these tools are very easy to use. Don't shy away from them. Get in there because you can't hurt them, and make them yours and help them guide your instruction in this school year. Any questions out there, Matt, that we might want to address?
No, Jane, everything is quiet in the chat room. I don't see any questions at this time, but folks, if you do have questions, feel free to post it in the Q&A or in the chat room, and we're certainly happy to answer it.
Matt, I'm hoping here as we are coming to a close with our time, I'm hoping that you chatted everyone, our office hours that we host every Monday afternoon. We're kind of in the middle of office hours. We've got somebody covering them for us, but every Monday from 3 to 5 at that same Zoom link that Matt shared. And then every Friday, Eastern time, I'm thinking it is 11 to 1. I hope I've got that right, Matt. But please join us, reach out to us, email us with questions after our time is up today. If things come along and you would like to have a quick overview of the hub, we would love to set up something on our calendar. So unless there is nothing else to share, I will flip this right back to Beth and or Maxie and thank everyone for joining us for this quick overview of the Lexile and Quantile Hub.
All right, thanks, Jane. I do see one question that just popped in. It says, I see how to select resources, but missed what to hit after they have been checked.
Oh, okay. I'm going to very quickly open up the Math Skills database, and very quickly I'll get back into North Carolina. I don't know if I've got stuff hiding my tabs up there. I'll go into grade 1 and then search. I open one of these. My resource center is here. if within these resources, I show 5 resources and I have looked them over and thought that, shape detectives, I want that on the list, and I want 3D shape walk. I've turned those check marks green from my knowledge cluster. I now can go right up here to the resource center and I can choose, they're in here. I now need to find them again. I've got too many. I've got to clean this out, Matt. You have to help me remember. But we'll just say that I had selected Decimal Workshop and Catch the Stars. I have put a check here. And when I put a check here next to any resources that I added from the knowledge cluster, I can choose to create a new list, name it, I get that link, or I can add it to a list that I've already created. And I think in the sample we did, we gave it a name. I could type a description, and when I select create, now I have the link to send home. But I get these onto a list by putting that check in the box. Does that answer that question? That was a quick overview.
We got a reply back that said, thank you. We just missed the resource center bit. They are good now.
Yay, thank you.
All right, we have one more question, and it says, would you all be open to doing a parent session to show parents how they could use this to help their students at home?
All right, Matt, they're barking up. They are barking up our alley, aren't they? We're working on pulling that very presentation together, and we would love to have that opportunity.
All right, so would it be appropriate for them to just send you guys an email to so you could share that with them later?
Yes, and what we can do is if they want to jump on a Zoom, because actually Matt was working on recording a parent quick tutorial. It may not be quite to the depth they want, but yeah, we can create a Zoom and talk through exactly what they're thinking about. We would love to do that, most definitely.
Awesome. All right, well, I see that Matt has dropped the email addresses again, including one for David, who does more with your math work.
Mm-hmm.
So we have that in the chat for the person that did send me a private note about the parent session. And with that, we would like to say thank you so much, Jane and Matt, for your work with us today. The Hub really is a one-stop shop resource, and it's totally free because of our partnership with Metametrics. I hope our teachers have been able to explore the Hub with you and have found value in this wonderful resource. Thank you again for joining us today. A link to the recording will be emailed out tomorrow to everyone who registered, and you are free to share that link with team members who couldn't be with us today. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you. Hope to hear from you all. Bye.
Bye.